The first thing that felt wrong was the silence, not the peaceful kind. Not the kind you enjoy when you escape the city. This silence felt heavy, like something was listening. I remember standing at the edge of the trees, my backpack digging into my shoulders, telling myself I was overreacting. It was just a night in the woods. One night. I had no idea that by morning I wouldn't be the same person who walked in. And if you think this story ends with screams or monsters jumping out of the dark, you're wrong. What happened to me was quieter than that, and far worse. Before I tell you what really happened that night, take a moment to subscribe to Dark Truth, where I share real psychological horror stories that stay with you long after they end. Now listen carefully, because every word of this still lives in my head. I spent the night in deep woods because I wanted silence, real silence. I was exhausted, mentally more than physically. My job had been eating me alive. Constant noise, endless notifications, people talking without saying anything. I stopped sleeping properly months ago. When I did sleep, I dreamed of being watched. So when I found an old forestry trail online, barely marked, miles away from the nearest town, it felt like a solution. No cell signal, no people, just trees. I told myself it was safe. People camp all the time, right? I arrived just before sunset. The sky was a dull orange, like it was already tired of the day. The woods stretched endlessly in front of me. Tall trees, packed tight, their tops swaying slowly, even though there was barely any wind. That should have been my first warning. I walked for nearly an hour before choosing a spot. Far from the trail, far from everything. The deeper I went, the quieter it became. No birds, no insects, just my footsteps. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Each step sounded too loud. I finally stopped near a small clearing, not open enough to feel safe, not closed enough to feel hidden. Perfect, I thought. I set up my tent while it was still light. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory doing the work while my mind wandered. That's when the feeling started. That slow crawling awareness that you're not alone. I kept glancing over my shoulder. Every time, nothing was there. Just trees. Thousands of them. I cooked a simple meal as darkness settled in. The smell of instant noodles felt strange out there, like something artificial invading a place that didn't want it. As night fell, the woods didn't come alive like people say. They shut down. No crickets, no owls, nothing. The silence pressed against my ears so hard it almost rang. I zipped myself into the tent and turned off my headlamp. Complete darkness. I lay there, listening to my own breathing. In, out. That's when I heard it. A footstep. Slow, careful. Just outside the clearing. I froze, held my breath. Another step. Then nothing. I told myself it was an animal. Deer, fox, anything. But animals don't walk like that. They don't hesitate. I waited for more sounds. Minutes passed. My heart slowly settled. I laughed quietly at myself. Stress does this, I thought. Makes you imagine things. I closed my eyes. I don't know how long I slept, but I woke up suddenly, gasping like I'd been underwater. The darkness felt thicker now, and I could hear breathing, not mine, outside the tent. Close! Too close. I didn't move, didn't even blink. The breathing was slow, controlled, like someone trying to stay quiet. Then it stopped. A long pause. Then the soft sound of fabric brushing against fabric. Someone or something was crouching. I wanted to scream. I couldn't. My body refused. Seconds stretched into minutes. Finally, the presence retreated. Footsteps again. Slow, deliberate. They faded into the woods. I lay there until my muscles ached. When dawn finally came, I felt stupid for being scared. There were no footprints, no signs anyone had been there. I almost packed up and left. Almost. But something about leaving felt wrong. Like I'd be admitting something I wasn't ready to understand. So I stayed. The day passed quietly. Too quietly. I wandered around the area trying to convince myself everything was normal. But no matter where I went, I felt eyes on my back. Every time I turned around, nothing. That evening, the silence returned even heavier than before. I checked my phone. No signal. No time updates. The battery drained faster than it should have. I told myself I'd leave in the morning. Just one more night. That second night is when the woods started to change. The darkness fell faster, thicker. My campfire barely pushed it back. The shadows between the trees looked deeper, longer, wrong. I heard whispers after midnight, not words, just sounds that felt like language. They circled my tent, sometimes closer, sometimes far away, never touching, never stopping. My thoughts began to slip. I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. Every time I thought I heard my name, my heart dropped because it sounded like my own voice. By the third night, I hadn't slept at all. My reflection in my phone screen looked unfamiliar. My eyes were sunken. My face felt thinner. The woods felt closer now, like they'd leaned in. That's when I realized something terrifying. I couldn't remember deciding to stay a third night. I searched my memories. Nothing, just gaps. And the feeling that the woods were waiting for something, for me. When I finally understood what was happening, it was already too late. Because the footsteps I'd been hearing, they weren't circling my tent anymore. They were inside it, breathing behind me, matching my rhythm, waiting for me to turn around. I didn't turn around. I knew, somewhere deep inside, that if I did, something would change permanently. The breathing behind me was calm, too calm. It matched mine perfectly. In, out. I held my breath. So did it. That's when panic finally broke through the numbness. My heart slammed against my ribs so loud I was sure it could hear it. I squeezed my eyes shut, whispering to myself that this wasn't real. Sleep deprivation, stress, hallucinations. That's what people say when their mind starts to crack. The breathing started again. Closer, right behind my ear, I felt warmth, not breath, body heat. Something was sitting inside my tent with me. I stayed frozen until my muscles began to tremble. Every instinct screamed at me to move, to run, to scream. But another instinct, older, deeper, told me not to acknowledge it. Eventually, the presence shifted. The tent fabric rustled. The zipper moved, slowly, carefully, not opening, just testing. Then it stopped. Silence returned, heavier than before. When morning came, I found the zipper exactly where I'd left it. No cuts, no damage, no evidence. But the inside of the tent smelled wrong, like damp earth, like old leaves, like something that had been buried for a long time. I packed up in a hurry. My hands shook so badly I dropped things repeatedly. I kept glancing into the trees, expecting to see someone standing there. Nothing. Still nothing. I started walking back toward the trail, or at least, I thought I did. The woods looked different in daylight now. Paths I remembered were gone. Trees stood where clearings should have been. I walked for hours. The sun never seemed to move. My phone died. That's when I started hearing my footsteps echoing. Not behind me. Ahead of me. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. I walked again. So did they. Perfect timing. Perfect rhythm. Like I was following myself. My thoughts became disjointed. Simple things felt hard to remember. Why did I come here? How long had I been walking? What day was it? At some point, I realized I was back in the clearing. My clearing. My tent was still there, set up, neat, like I'd never left. That broke something inside me. I screamed then, a raw animal sound. The woods absorbed it instantly. No echo, no response. I collapsed beside the tent, sobbing until my chest hurt. When I finally crawled inside, it felt familiar, too familiar, like home. That night, I dreamed without sleeping. I saw myself arriving at the woods for the first time. Saw myself setting up camp. Saw myself hearing the footsteps. Then I saw myself watching, standing between the trees, learning my movements, practicing my breathing, waiting. I woke up screaming, but no sound came out. My mouth moved, nothing else. The breathing was back, inside me now, not behind, within. I could feel it filling my chest when I inhaled, controlling how much air I took in. I realized then the truth I'd been avoiding. The woods weren't haunted. They were hungry, and I had stayed long enough to be learned. Copied. I don't remember leaving the woods. I don't remember how I got home. I just remember standing in my bathroom weeks later, staring at my reflection, waiting for it to blink first, sometimes late at night. When my apartment is quiet, I hear footsteps in the hallway. They stop outside my bedroom door. They breathe slow, careful, like they're checking if I'm still there. And the worst part? Sometimes I don't remember going into the woods at all. I just remember walking out. The doctors told me I was dehydrated, severely. They said I'd been found wandering along a service road miles from anywhere, barefoot, clothes torn, lips cracked and bleeding. I kept repeating the same sentence over and over. I stayed too long. They assumed it was shock. They always do. I didn't correct them. I didn't know how. Because how do you explain that something didn't chase you? It replaced you. For weeks after I came home, I slept with the lights on. Even then, sleep didn't feel safe. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the woods breathing with me. The same slow rhythm, the same patience. I stopped hearing city noise, cars, voices, rain. All of it faded into the background. The silence followed me. At first, I thought it was tinnitus. Then I noticed something worse. The silence responded. If I held my breath, it held too. If I whispered, it leaned closer. I stopped going outside after sunset, not because I was scared of the dark, but because the dark recognized me. Mirrors became a problem. Sometimes my reflection lagged behind by a fraction of a second. Sometimes it smiled when I didn't. I tested it. I raised my hand slowly. It copied me perfectly. too perfectly. Like it already knew what I was going to do. I started recording myself at night, just to be sure. The footage was normal at first. Me sleeping, me tossing and turning. Then one night, around 3:17 a.m., I sat straight up in bed, eyes open, wide. I didn't move for 6 minutes, just stared at the corner of the room, breathing slow, careful. When I finally lay back down, I smiled. I deleted the video. I don't remember doing that. My memories from the woods started to fade. Not naturally, selectively. The fear stayed. The details didn't. Like something was cleaning up after itself. Sometimes I wake up knowing things I shouldn't. How long a human can stay still before muscles start to fail. How to breathe without making sound. How to listen through walls. I've started taking walks at night. I don't plan to. My feet just take me. I end up standing in quiet places, alleyways, parks after closing hours, listening, waiting. Once, I caught my reflection in a dark shop window. I was smiling. I hadn't felt happy. That's when I understood the final truth. I didn't survive the woods. I was allowed to leave because something needed to know how to live like me. And now sometimes, when I'm alone and very still, I feel watched, not from behind, from inside. Like something is checking the fit, seeing how well it's settled into my skin. And on nights when the world goes quiet enough, when the silence becomes heavy again, I realize with absolute certainty the woods didn't follow me home. I brought them with me. And somewhere out there, in a place with no birds, no insects, no sound at all, someone else is setting up a tent, looking for silence. And something is already listening. It doesn't stop there. I wish it did. The nights changed first. Sleep became something that happened to me, not something I chose. I would lie down in bed, fully awake, staring at the ceiling, and then suddenly it would be morning. No dreams, no memory of falling asleep. Just time missing. I started finding dirt under my fingernails, dark soil, packed tight. At first, I thought it was stress, sleepwalking. People do strange things when their mind breaks. But I live alone. The door was always locked from the inside. And my shoes were sometimes damp, cold, smelling faintly of wet leaves. I stopped washing them. I didn't want to erase whatever proof was left. The silence grew more aggressive. It wasn't just the absence of sound anymore. It felt intentional, like noise was being pushed away. The hum of the refrigerator would suddenly cut out. My phone would lose signal in the middle of the city. The power would flicker only when I was alone. And every time it happened, my chest would tighten because the woods felt closer. One night, I heard footsteps in my apartment. Slow, moving from room to room. I sat on my bed, holding my breath, listening. The footsteps stopped outside my door. I waited for the handle to turn. It didn't. Instead, I heard breathing. My breathing from the other side. That was when I realized something I hadn't considered before. What if I wasn't alone in my body anymore? I stood up and opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the air felt disturbed, like someone had just passed through it. I went to the bathroom. The mirror was fogged. I hadn't showered. In the fog, something had been written, not with fingers, with pressure. Letters pressed from the other side. Stay quiet. My knees gave out. I slid to the floor, hands over my mouth, trying not to scream. That's when I heard it, a sound I hadn't heard since the woods, leaves shifting, not outside, inside the walls. Something moved slowly through my apartment, not walking, but spreading like roots. I spent the rest of the night sitting perfectly still. When morning came, the message on the mirror was gone, but the silence stayed. I tried to tell someone, anyone, but every time I spoke about the woods, my head would throb violently. My vision would blur. My tongue would go numb, like my body was rejecting the truth, like it didn't belong to me anymore. I started noticing changes in my behavior. I would pause in doorways for long periods of time, just standing there, listening. I began turning off lights without realizing it, closing curtains, reducing noise, making my space more like the woods. One evening, while brushing my teeth, I felt something shift in my mouth. My jaw moved on its own. Testing, learning. I stared at myself, toothpaste dripping from my lips as my reflection tilted its head slightly. Before I did, that's when I finally understood the full horror. The woods don't kill you. They study you. They take your patterns, your habits, your shape. And once they've learned enough, they let you go because they don't need you anymore. They have a version that knows how to walk into cities, how to live in rooms, how to pretend. I don't know how much of me is left. Some nights, I wake up standing in the corner of my bedroom, facing the wall, breathing quietly, waiting. For what? I don't know. But I'm afraid it does. If you ever find yourself craving silence, if the noise of the world feels unbearable, don't go looking for deep woods, because if the quiet answers back, it's already too late. The worst part is how normal everything looks. I still go to work. I still talk to people. I still laugh when I'm supposed to. No one notices. That's what terrifies me. The thing inside me learned fast, too fast. At first, it only took over at night. Short moments, standing still, listening. Then it started happening during the day. I would lose time in small pieces, seconds at first, then minutes. I'd be mid-sentence, and suddenly someone would be staring at me strangely. "Are you okay?" they'd ask. I always answered yes, because the answer came automatically. I don't remember choosing it. I started keeping a notebook, not to write what was happening, but to prove continuity. Every morning, I wrote the date, the time, where I was. Some pages were already filled when I opened the notebook, handwriting identical to mine. Same pressure, same slant, same words. Still quiet, learning, blending. I burned the notebook in my sink. The smoke smelled like pine. After that, it became bolder. I'd catch myself standing too close to people, not understanding personal space, listening to their breathing, matching it. Once, in an elevator, the power went out. Total darkness. Everyone panicked. Everyone except me. The silence felt familiar, comforting. I felt my face relax into a smile before I could stop it. When the lights came back on, a woman was staring at me. She moved away. That night, I dreamed of roots, not growing, wrapping around bones, around organs, holding everything in place. I woke up with dirt on my pillow. Real dirt, wet, cold. I tried leaving the city. I thought distance might help, I booked a hotel near the coast. Noise, waves, people. But the ocean went silent at night. No waves, no wind. Just that same heavy stillness. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection stood too straight, too patient. I leaned close, whispered, "What do you want?" My mouth opened, and something answered from deep inside my chest. Stillness. I smashed the mirror. The shards reflected pieces of me, all watching. I didn't sleep after that. I just waited, because waiting felt right. That's when the memories started returning. Not mine. Memories of others. People who came to the woods tired. People who wanted quiet. People who stayed too long. I could feel them, layered, like rings inside a tree. I understood then. I wasn't the first. I wasn't the first, and I won't be the last. Sometimes, when I walk past wooded areas now, I feel a pull, not fear, recognition. Like visiting an old home, the thing inside me slows my steps, turns my head toward the trees, listening, judging, and lately, it's been making plans. I've started packing again, not consciously. I just find things arranged near the door. Flashlight, warm clothes, a tent. I don't know when I'll leave. I don't know if I can stop it. If you're hearing this story now, and it feels too real, if you've ever felt the silence watching you, please understand this. The woods don't need everyone. They only need a few. The rest are just invitations. And somewhere tonight, someone is breathing very quietly, standing very still, learning how to be you. I'm writing this in the early hours of the morning. I know that because the clock says 3:12 a.m., but the room feels timeless. The city outside my window is quiet, in a way cities never are. No distant traffic, no sirens, no voices, just that familiar pressing stillness. I'm sitting at my desk, hands resting on the keyboard, trying to focus on the sound of my own breathing. In, out. Sometimes it lags. Sometimes it comes before I'm ready. I've noticed I don't blink as often anymore. My eyes don't dry out. They don't ache. They just wait. Tonight, I found mud on the floor near my door, a thin trail of it, leading from the hallway to where I'm sitting now. I don't remember coming home with it. I don't remember opening the door. But my shoes are by the wall, clean, perfectly placed. I checked my phone earlier. There were photos I didn't take, pictures of trees at dusk, of familiar clearing, my old tent, folded neatly. One photo was taken from inside the woods. Another was taken from behind me. I deleted them. They came back. The silence in the room deepens every few minutes, like it's settling in, like it's getting comfortable. I can feel something standing just behind my thoughts, not pushing, not rushing, patient. It doesn't hurt anymore. That might be the scariest part. Fear takes energy. Resistance takes effort. This feels efficient. I tried to leave earlier. I really did. I stood at the door with my hand on the handle, heart pounding, telling myself to run, to scream, to do anything loud enough to break the spell. But my hand didn't turn the knob. It just rested there, listening, learning the quiet on the other side. I stepped back. That felt like the correct choice. I think the woods are far away now. I don't think location matters. I think once the silence knows you, it doesn't let go. It grows inward, slow, Careful! Like roots finding cracks. My reflection in the dark window beside me is barely visible now, but I can sense it, standing straighter than I am, breathing more evenly, ready. I don't know how much longer I'll be here to finish this. I can feel myself thinning, like I'm becoming background noise, like something else is stepping forward. If you're listening to this late at night, if your room feels quieter than it should, pay attention to your breathing. Make sure it's yours. And if you ever find yourself craving perfect silence, if you feel the urge to stand still and listen, don't follow it, because silence is never empty. It's just waiting, and once it learns the shape of you, it never forgets.